I'm going to have Shabbos. What a wonderful Shabbos. You know, there are not many Shabbos in the year that have a special name. Special name, you know. Last week was Shua's birthday. That would be Shabbos, Shua's birthday. But usually a Shabbos doesn't have a special name. Shmuel's birthday, right? Yeah, not bad. This is Parshas Beshalach, no? There you go. Yeah, special Shabbos of the year to be able to have a name. Shabbos. Shabbos Hagadol. Shabbos Shuva. This week, Shabbos Shira. Shabbos Shira. That's this week. And unfortunately, people think about Shabbos Shira. Should we do my closing the door, Tzaddik? But if people think about Shabbos Shira, what they think about is, it's the Shabbos where you take the breadcrumbs and you bring it out to the birds and you feed the birds on Shabbos. Okay. How many Isurim is a person over if he does that on Shabbos, right? So you take the breadcrumbs, you take it outside, so that's carrying. Feeding animals that are not yours. You guys are shaila, okay, muktzah issues over there. You're going to touch the animal, you're not going to touch the birds. Okay, fine, right? You might deal with Baltasha's issues, right? I have a neighbor. It was very strange to me. This guy, every morning, he takes breadcrumbs out of his house and throws it into the street. Every single morning. All the birds, they all gather together. They go over to his birds. They go over to his breadcrumbs. They all eat it. It was honestly very, very strange to me. I was in a shul, and I was talking to a certain doctor, wonderful, wonderful doctor, and I happened to have mentioned how strange it is that his next-door neighbor always throws these crumbs out in front of his house. He said, no, it's a segula. You ever heard of the segula? Heard of it? It's a segula. It's something spiritually done in order for protection because he had a heart issue. And he was told that if you feed the birds, give them crumbs, so then it helps you with a heart issue. Okay, yeah, that part you never heard. But Shabbos Shira, what people know about it is it's the Shabbos of feeding the birds. Feeding the birds. And you know, I bet if you go to Eichler's, you can get a special container of special Shabbos Shira breadcrumbs. You can go, right? You can get it for $2.49, $2.99. I'm just joking, you can't get it there. But you get it there, you shake it outside, you can get high quality, low quality, good scented. It's the Shabbos Shira, it's not Shabbos birds. It's not Shabbos birds. What is Shabbos Shira? If a person spends all of his time thinking that Shabbos Shira is about feeding the birds and forgets that Shabbos Shira is about Shiras Hayam, the song of the sea, a person is missing out a major part of his life. If you open up Be'ez Hashem, you learn the Gilas Kaheles. So over there, actually, at the beginning of Shir Hashirim, Targum and Shir Hashirim, he talks about the different songs of the world. There are only a certain types of songs that get branded Shira, a special Shira. Of course, so he's not here today, but his Bar Mitzvah Parsha is Parshas Ha'azinu. Shira's Ha'azinu. It's special Shira. People, the Gemara says, actually it's medrash based on the pasuk in Parshas Vayelech. It says that Parshas Ha'azinu is supposed to be memorized. Sima befihem. It's supposed to be in your mouth. It's a shir, a song, and you are supposed to know it perfectly well, to be able to think about it, to be considering it, to learn about your life, the future of the Jewish people. And Shiras Hayam, this week's parsha, is meant to be an everlasting shira that you're supposed to work on and understand and develop an appreciation for. In fact, as we know, Shir Oz Yashir, wherever exactly is the beginning of Oz Yashir, but if it's Oz Yashir, if those are the words that are its beginning, it's Oz, then. What does it mean then? Oz Yashir, then he sang. Oz Yashir, then he will sing. When will they sing? Oz, when Mashiach comes. In the future, we will then be singing. Not just now. So there's Oz Yashir. How many of the same people who are getting the breadcrumbs from Eichler's at $2.99 to do a little of the shake in front of the birds appreciate what Oz Yashir is talking about? Oz Yashir is talking about. I have a certain wonderful person in my class. He loves to sing. Now, the songs that he loves to sing, perhaps, maybe not my type of music, but he does. He loves to sing. And the Torah offers us up songs to sing. I want to speak a little bit about music and about songs, and then hopefully we will take something out of it. There's an old machlekes. About music. I think you'll appreciate this machlekes. Old machlekes amongst the old Hasidic Rebbes had this machlekes. And it's even older than that. What is the most important part of a song? Is it the lyrics? Is it the words of the song? Or is it the tune? The tune, you hear somebody singing something, and you sing along, that's a catchy tune, I really like it. Or is it, wow, those words really impact me. Sometimes I think back to the songs that I remember as a child. And then when I see the actual lyrics to the song, I realize I'm just saying gibberish. I'm literally, especially when I used to love listening to Country Yossi. So Country Yossi has songs in it that have Yiddish in it. I have no idea what there was. I have no idea what I'm saying. There are songs, I didn't know what a tight Sagunish bum was. I didn't know. It's like a deadbeat bum. But I didn't know what that was. And here I am, all I'm talking about it. The tight Sagunish bum. The words were not necessarily important. The tune, it was a lot of fun. Singing about Challah, I think that was a good one. But if a person sometimes focuses on the tune. At other times, a person focuses on the lyrics. Which is more important? And you might say, they're both important. Sometimes the tune, sometimes the lyrics. In fact, we use different words to describe each one. Interesting. Think about this. It's not universally accepted, but this is one take. The word zemer for Zmiris on Shabbos, Psuke de Zimra, which we say daily, zemer refers to, interestingly enough, it refers to the tune. The tune, the sound of the music. Shir, that refers to the lyrics. Interesting. Now, why do they say this? Okay, they say it like this. The word zemer comes from the word to prune, to cut off something. When you want to separate yourself from this world, let's say a person's feeling anxiety. Let's say a person's feeling uncomfortable. In fact, even in halacha, certain times of the year, sphira, the 3 weeks, if a person needs it for psychological help, you're allowed to listen to music, right? A person's allowed to listen to music. Why is he listening to music in those situations? Because he has this feeling of, and I got to get out of that feeling. I got to seal up myself and get away from that. And I listen to some music. And you see guys who walk around now with the big headsets. Back when I was young, there was a wire attached to that thing. But a big headset, and they're living in their own world. When you're living in your own world because the music has gotten you someplace else, that's Zmiris. Zmiris is to separate you from where you are to where you want to be. Think about Zmiris on Shabbos. Zmiris on Shabbos, it's so geschmack. But how many of us have any idea what the words of Zmiris mean? I get Yoim. Yoim probably means day. Shabbos, and that sounds like Shabbos. Okay, I don't know. Baruch. I don't know what any of these things mean. But it's to get you. It's to get you into a mode. I was a vachendike kid last week. I was a person of weekday. I was living 6 days of the week, and now it's Friday night, and I'm separating myself from the mundane. That's Zmiris. Or think about Psuke de Zimra. Psuke de Zimra is that section of the beginning of davening before you get to Birchas Kriya Shema. Before you get to Kriya Shema, you have Psuke de Zimra. Now, why do you have to say that part? Because you were living in this world, you were dead like a doornail last night by your bed, and now you're coming into shul and you think you're ready to start talking to the Eibishter, and you think you're ready to start jumping straight into Shema and Shemona Esrei. No, you've got to say a certain psukim to be able to separate yourself from where you were before, Psuke de Zimra, to cut yourself off, and to be able to elevate yourself to where you're up to. That's Zmiris. Zmiris. It's to cut yourself off and to elevate yourself. But then there's Shira. Shira is something else. Interesting, the word Shira, actually, we use this word, Ashurenu. Ashurenu, it's in Parshas Beshalach. Yeah, Ashurenu v'le'ata. We say the word Ashurenu. Ashur means to see. We also in Parshas Vayechi. Shur means to look at something from a distance. To look at something, to focus on something. You want to be able to understand things, to get clarity. You want to get clarity on something. You can't just separate yourself. Imagine a person is really, really tired, exhausted, you're lying down. Rabbi, speaking for too long. Yeah, you're really tired. So what do? They take some smelling salts, they put it under his nose, He wakes up, okay? And now, what are you going to do? If nothing happens now, you're going to go back to sleep. At some point, you're just going to pass out because you have nothing to live for. So zemer is the smelling salt. It gets you up. But if you want to have focus on what am I supposed to be doing with my life now, that is shira. That is shira. Think of this morning when Shul was chazan today. Right? We say shira chadash. We talk about the shir. Right before we get into Shemona Esrei, we talk about Shiras Hayam. We talk about the Shiras of ourselves. To be able to get into Shemona Esrei, you need to have focus now. You need to have clarity on what you're looking for. Two different ideas of song. Sometimes when you're listening to a song, try to recognize in yourself, am I listening to this song because I'm just trying to get away from something? Or am I, it's not bad, that's not a bad thing, or am I listening to this song to be able to start getting clarity on focus on certain things? And you might find certain songs one way, certain the other way, and you really, this song, sometimes I listen to a song, I listen to it and it really gets me thinking. It really gets me thinking about where I am at. Sometimes the way that music says it and the way they say it with those right lyrics, and maybe the tune helps out, but the way that the song is set up, it really gets me thinking sometimes. I think about life. And sometimes I listen to the words and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to be thinking about what that song is saying. I don't want to condemn any any new Jewish music out there. But some of the songs that they're focusing on, people say, oh, it's a nice song. I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way it sounds. But I tell them, listen to the words of the song. The words of the song are rejecting values that you stand for. And if you listen to it enough, it'll eventually probably go in somewhere and it'll be a shira by you and you'll be focusing on the wrong things. So this is just a classic idea. There's zemer, there's shir. When we're talking about Oz Yashir, it's the words that are important. The words are important. I don't know the tune to Oz Yashir. I mean, we could say the laning tune. But I don't know the tune. But when you see the words of Oz Yashir, and he talks about our relationship with Hashem, our daily life, about where we're at, when it talks about the Binyan HaBeis HaMikdash, at a time when the Jews were coming out of Mitzrayim, we're already talking about the Beis HaMikdash in the future. That's what's talked about in Oz Yashir. And it talks about Hashem Yimlech Le'Levad, which is in the deep, distant future. We're talking about a lot of things here. There's so much depth to Oz Yashir that a person should sit down, open up a chumash, and to be able to really get an appreciation for it. Because the words are what's important here. I was very fortunate. When I was in 4th grade, I switched to a new yeshiva. I came to this yeshiva, and I didn't know this, but until a few years ago, I met my 4th grade Rebbe. And I don't know how they do this, but my 4th grade Rebbe recognized me, and wow, how are Moshe? It's so nice to see you. Okay, great. So he tells me that when he taught me in 4th grade, Rabbi Rosenberg, and he taught me in 4th grade, it was his first year teaching. He had never taught before. What did I know? I was a 4th grader. I happened to have noticed that my 4th grade Rebbe is clean shaven, which is new to me. I never had clean shaven Rebbe. What I didn't know was the day before he was my 4th grade Rebbe, he was still in Kailal. My Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Bender, did not have a 4th grade Rebbe. I don't know what happened. So he went to the Kailal of Darchei Torah, and he went over to this Rabbi Rosenberg, who was at that time, I don't remember, I think his name was Yitzchak. I don't remember his first name. They went over to Rosenberg and said to him, you're now a 4th grade Rebbe. Go into the classroom tomorrow. And that was it. He was my Rebbe. But because of that, he didn't know like all the standard songs and all like the classic, he didn't have the sheets. He didn't know anything. I didn't know that. So when we learned Oz Yashir, we were told that all the other, there was two parallel classes when I was in Darchei Torah. The other classes had tunes. There was a certain Oz Yashir tune that they all sang. He didn't have a tune. So we just did Oz Yashir, like, okay. And then he had to actually teach us what Oz Yashir was about because he didn't have a song for us to memorize it. My wife, I mentioned this before, she went to this school. Of course, she went to Mechon Beis Yaakov. But before that, she went to Beis Yaakov, and they memorize everything. I'm sure you're right. They don't memorize everything. The women, they have Hazinu memorized. They have every dar from Adam, probably to Arahim. They have Adam to me. They have it memorized. Adam Sheis and Naish. They have a whole thing. They have it all memorized. What did I know? I was stuck in 4th grade, no memories. But what I was left with was that my 4th grade Rebbe taught us the words of Oz Yashir. Because Oz Yashir, like my 4th grade Rebbe taught us, is not a zemer. It is a shir. It is meant to be able to focus on what you are saying and what you are living for and how to live life. It's a very, very important thing. Don't leave here and say, okay, it's Shabbos Shira. It's not about the birds. What he said was, don't throw crumbs to the birds. That's not what I said. What I said was, it's Shabbos Shira. It's a Shabbos for us to focus on our lives, not just to separate this Shabbos, not just to sing Zmiros, which is wonderful, and do sing Zmiros, but it's a Shabbos to focus on what do I mean? What am I saying? What is important to me? I had a meeting in my office this week with someone, and I was talking to this person, and I said to him, what are you trying to accomplish? So he said, nothing. So I said, no, I mean, like, what are you hoping to do? What are you hoping to be? So he said, when? I said, I don't know. I said, you're X amount of years, you have another 105 plus years to your life, right? At the very least, what do you want to do for the next 105? I think maybe at 80 you'll start, I don't know, weakening a little bit, so you might want to dial it back. It's not 105 years. What do you plan on doing? I don't know. Okay. So what do you plan on doing by the end of the year? I don't know. End of the month? That weird sound of that is a person who does not have a shira to him. He does not have any clarity. He has a life called living, breathing, sleeping. I'm sure bathroom is involved in that a lot. Eating, probably eating first, then bathroom. But that is his life. If he, instead of talking, would go, there wouldn't be much of a difference between him and that wonderful black and white animal that you see beyond the fence. There wouldn't be much of a difference between us. Live for something. Live for something. I think I said this before. It's just something that touches me, and I appreciate this very much. The Mishnah Berurah says that if a person says Oz Yashir, which is what we say every single day, if a person says Oz Yashir, there are different ways of saying it. He says Oz Yashir, and he says it with kavana, or he says Oz Yashir bisimcha, or he says Oz Yashir imagining that he himself has gone through the Yam Suf and come to the other side. Whatever it is, your version of it. But if a person says Oz Yashir, and he tries for a second, closes his eyes, and he thinks, everyone try right now. How many times you get an opportunity to do this? You got a mitzvah right now. Zechet Yas Mitzrayim if you do this. Closes his eyes, and he thinks, okay, there is a big ocean. I probably see a beach there. Gorgeous blue water. I'm on the other side now. They went around. I see the waves, and there are the Egyptians. They're thrown onto the side. And Hashem just saved me. Me and my 600,000 people. We all just came in a Mitzrayim, and you imagine this scene. And right now you say Oz Yashir. The Mishnah Berurah says HaKadosh Baruch Hu is moichel you for your averos for doing that. You get a very, very, very special place in the world to come. Do what I just did. And you could do that in 1 second. Obviously, it's different levels. The level you're able to do that, but you're able to say Oz Yashir and imagine the joy of the Jewish people, your joy that you got to the other side. You have something to live for. Something to live for. I see people are thinking, they're still doing it now. Look at this. Such geschmack. People are working right now on imagining it deeply. You think about it. You have something to live for. Sing Zmiros, sing Shira, have clarity in your life. A person without clarity is the most dangerous person. Somebody once asked, what is the scariest person in the world? The scariest person in the world is a person who has no idea what he's living for. Why is that the scariest person? Shem, why is that the scariest person? What do you think? He has nothing to lose. He has nothing to live for. What he's going to do today, he might hurt everybody around him. He might hurt himself. But you can be sure of one thing. He has nothing to live for. Nothing will ever happen from such a person. Nothing positive. Why should he? Why should I care? What's going to be? It's all GMG. What's GMG? You know GMG? Garnished mit garnished. Oh, what happened over here? I thought you speak Yiddish. Anyway, no. Was can return? Yeah, GMG. Bez Hashem. Everyone should have a Shabbos full of delicious cholent, a Shabbos full of zmiros, shira.